Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk more about device onboarding in Intune and what are the preparations that we need to do to enroll the devices into Microsoft Intune, right? So before that, you might be wondering if we have pure cloud environment, then what are the things that we should do and what are the different ways we can do to enroll the devices into Intune, right? To enroll the devices into Intune, there are some prerequisites. So I'll tell those prerequisites. So the prerequisites are something if you have licenses which is E3 or E5, which also covers the Intune license for the devices to enroll into Microsoft Intune and manage those devices from Entra ID as well as Intune, right? So all that is been covered with that license. And if you don't have that license specifically, then you would need Intune license to manage that device. And if you have something which is like business standard or business premium, or the licenses which are mostly and purely used for small to medium scale companies, right? Like as I mentioned, if it is business standard, business premium also covers some part of Intune enrollment. But if it is business basic, business standard, then it doesn't have that capability to enroll the devices and manage that. Still, there is a way you can manage the devices, not 100% fully managed kind of devices, but yeah, there is a way to manage the device from Enter ID. Enter ID as a part of registration of the devices, and then you can manage bits and pieces, not the whole device kind of. If you have E3 or E5 along with, if you don't have E3 E5, then if you have business standard or business premium, then you can get add-on plan, which is uh, EMS, which is Enterprise Mobility and Security E3 or E5 license, right? So those would be the licenses which you can get add-on licenses and bundle it together or assign those licenses together to the user identities, and then you can push the autopilot profile, right? So today I'm going to show you how you can prepare for the device enrollment and management. Along with that, also I'm going to show you how you can create a brand new autopilot profile and how that profile can be deployed across the fleet, right? So those would be assigned to the group of devices which are part of your Intune autopilot profile, and as soon as that policy gets deployed on the device, those devices would be automatically enrolled into the Intune, right? So let's jump on to the topic and I'll walk you through on each of those so you can understand, and you will come to know how you can do this, right? So here you can see there are a bunch of options here. Each option is catering different requirements. So today I'm going to walk you through on Windows, and then I'm going to make other videos on Apple, Android, and other topics as well, right? So enrollment options here, we can see automatic enrollment, CNAME validation, co-management settings, device platform restrictions, then device limit restrictions, enrollment notifications, Windows Hello for Business. Then further we have Windows Autopilot device preparation policy that we can create from here, which is the device preparation policies. And then next comes Windows Autopilot. So under Windows Autopilot, we have other options like devices, then device profiles, then enrollment status page, Intune connector for Active Directory, right? So Active Directory, which is pure on-premises server, right? And we all know that whenever we wanted to manage the devices which are in hybrid setup, hybrid environment, and we wanted to manage those devices with Intune at certain extent, then we would have to do this setup. So I'm not going to show you that here with the practical, but yeah, I'm giving you a bit context about it, and you get an idea so how you can utilize this feature right here, right? So I'm going to mostly uh, tell you and show you how you can create a Windows Autopilot device preparation policy, and then the deployment profile, which would be deployed at the devices group, right? So let's jump on the device preparation policy. So here I have created a few policy. You can see these were the policies I had created a long back. You can see one was created in I think last month, and yeah, this was created, I think both were created in this month only. And yeah, I'll create a brand new and I'll show you how you can create it. So these are the different stages, we can say, and we need to create and add the details on each stage. So this is the introduction stage. So here it shows what's new and then what this policy is going to do and how it is going to help you and affect your autopilot device preparation and how that policy will be deployed. So let's click next. So here you need to give it a name. Let's say autopilot device prep. So this is the name I'm giving, and I can give the description to this autopilot device prep with Windows on Windows devices by Intune. So this description can be anything that you can give or you wanted to give to identify what this policy does, what's the purpose of this policy, and how this policy is being utilized. Click next. Here you need to find a security group which is created from enter ID, right? And this group would include, or this group should include a number of devices to be part of that policy, and then this group would be added here to add the devices, as well as this policy will be assigned to that group. So whatever the policy configuration is assigned or made available, that would be assigned to that group of devices. So let's say I'm adding this one. So this is just a one group I'm adding here, and I don't have any devices as of now. So that is why you don't see any devices. So it shows 0 devices and 1 user. So this group has 1 user account part of this, and I can simply remove it in case I wanted to remove or change this one. So I'm going to keep it here to show you, uh, just to show you how you can add a group to assign the policy. Click next. So here I have a different bunch of settings that I wanted to deploy using this policy, right? So first is deployment mode, which we have option here, which is user driven, right? So user driven option is the one which we can select, and by using this option, this would be deployed on the user. So as soon as user is logged into the system, this profile preparation is going to kick in on the device, and then this would be kind of a package which would be deployed on the devices, right? So that is when the deployment mode is on user driven. Next deployment type is single user. Why? Because this preparation is going to be set on a single user particularly, and as soon as the user logs into device, it picks up the user credentials and verifies with the enter ID, and then it is going to make sure the credentials are verified and matched and authentication was successful, and then it is going to let this user join the device, right? Then here is a join type. You can see there's only one join type because currently we have only a single environment, single as a pure cloud. We don't have a hybrid environment, and that is why we do see only intra joint type here. So I need to, or I'm going to select this one for this situation or this scenario. And next we have user account type standard, right? So if I disable this, then it is going to make that user administrator by default on the device, and then if I enable it, then it is going to make that user as a standard one. Next we have out of the box experience settings. Here we can see which is minutes allowed before showing installation error. So this is the default time period, which is 30 minutes, but we can set it to maybe lesser, or we can set it to, let's say, 45 minutes. So that is also possible here. Next we have custom error message. So we can set this up as per our requirement, how we wanted to show this message on the user screen, and this would be shown on the user screen whenever there is error, right? Other options we have, which is allow users to skip setup after multiple attempts. If this set to yes, that means user would have option to skip this setup and move further. If we set it up to no, then it is not going to let skip that setup at all. Similarly, you can see so link to diagnostics set to yes or no. So it's better to keep set to yes, because whatever the diagnostics would be captured during the registration and enrollment, that would be accessible later in case we wanted to troubleshoot that issue, and then that would have a complete logs details, right? So we should keep this to yes, and this should set to no. Further we have apps and then script. So these are the two different sections right here. We can see we have option to add applications, which applications we wanted to push through this package, right? In case I wanted to push uh, one password, then 7-zip, then Adobe, and there are many other applications available. So these are the applications that I had deployed through applications or apps using Windows 32-bit or Win32-bit method, right? And that method was something those applications were deployed. So I have selected these applications now, and yep, so this would be shown up here. In case I wanted to remove anyone, I just need to select and then hit this remove button, so it would be removed. Next we have scripts. So script is something in case I wanted to deploy something on this on the device using this package or this preparation package, I can simply deploy it, and that script would be something which we need to be make ready and deploy it on Intune first, and then that script would be added into the platform scripts for devices. And then so currently this script is already added, that is when you are able to see it here, but if it was not there, then there was no script, right? So now it is added, so I can simply select and click save. So that means the script is added, and whatever the purpose is of the script, that script is going to run on the device while executing on the device. So now this is the complete setting for device preparation, and so I can modify this whatever changes I wanted to make, and also I can make any customization whichever is available and possible to make in this policy, right? So click next here, and here is the scope tags. So scope tags, so this is a default one, which doesn't have to uh, make any changes, or we can simply add new scope tags if we have created already but we don't have any, and this is the default one, so we'll keep this one as is here, and we can move to the next. So here is the assignment. Here I would be able to assign a group, or the which group I wanted to apply this policy to, right? And let me find group here. Okay, Windows 365. That means this is the device group where currently it doesn't have any device, but this is the group where I wanted to apply this policy to. And click next, and I would be able to see the whole settings altogether. Then you can click on each of these and then see what is there, what configurations was made available, and then you can click on save button. So this policy will be created upon this one. There was a problem with the device setting, device security group for autopilot device prep. Check group meets the requirements. Okay, so this came because the group that we have selected in, it was not the uh, security group, right? So now I'll show you what was that group. So that was here. So under device group we added different group because that was not a security group, and that is when it threw that error. But ideally it needs a security group to be deploying that policy, right? So this is the policy that we wanted to create, and I wanted to show you how you can create this preparation and how you can make that available and deploy it across the fleet. All right, so now this is ready, and now you can apply this. Now as soon as we apply this policy would be deployed onto the group or the devices, and once the policy is applied, then as soon as the devices would be out of the box experience, or the devices which are a brand new and they are being enrolled into the Intune, so they would go through these settings, right? So this would be something which is going through a pure out of the box experience, whatever we have configured right here, the policy. And to do that, or to perform the autopilot as well as the device preparation autopilot configuration policy, we should have a devices added part of this autopilot profile. So here you can see Windows autopilot devices. So this is something, or this is the Windows autopilot profile, which gives us Windows autopilot, lets you customize the out of the box experience for users. That means as soon as the device is added into the autopilot profile, and once the device starts at the beginning, then it starts the enrollment process on the device, and then it asks users to enter the organization credentials, and then it starts the enrollment process of the device. So currently you saw that we don't have any devices right here, but as soon as we have that, and as soon as we assign that preparation policy as well as autopilot policy to the device, that policy would be applied on devices, right? So that is when I'm going to show you how to create a deployment profile and how you can assign that to the device. So here you can see I have created few different profiles, and I'm going to show you a brand new one so that you know how that policy is created and how that can be used. right? So let's click on create profile. Here you are seeing two options, which are one for Windows PC and second is for HoloLens. So Windows PC is something purely used for Windows devices, which includes Windows 10, 11, and which supports Windows 10 Pro and Enterprise OS similarly. And I'll show you how we can create this profile and also how we can add all the details to it. So let's give it a name, uh, autopilot autopilot profile or list US. So I'm just giving it a name. It doesn't have to be something like this, but you can give it any name that is really identifiable for you. And yep, so you can give it a description what this profile is going to do, whether you want to target particular region or country or any specific locations of your organization, right? So next is convert all target device into autopilot. You can set it to yes or no. So if you set to yes, it means that whatever the devices are enrolled in this autopilot, it is going to be enrolled or add those devices into autopilot profile, and going forward, if those devices are removed from the Intune, there would be some devices details added to autopilot, which is device hash, device serial numbers, and product ID. So all of that details would be added into autopilot profile, and those can be reused whenever you wanted to re-enroll those devices into Intune. So that way, it saves your efforts to re-add that manually into the autopilot. Next, we have a bunch of options here. You can see these are the options which we can set it up to produce the out-of-the-box experience while enrolling the device on Intune, right? So first option is deployment mode, and here we have different options, which is user-driven and self-deploying. Now you might be wondering, we have seen user-driven option in device preparation policy. Yes, we saw that one, and that is also a same one, and that option and this option both are similar. And why we are creating these two different profile or policies, right? So we are creating this one. The previous policy we created, that was something kind of preparation for device enrollment using out of the box experience, but this would be the actual profile which would be deployed on the device. And there are two options. One is for user driven. That means user has to put their credentials while logging into the system or the device as soon as the device is started, and then enter the credentials and then move further with the different steps that we are going to set up in this profile. So if I am setting user driven, that means user has to do certain steps and then device would be enrolled. If we are setting up to self deploying, that means you can see that many of the options are automatically grayed out and there is no action on user end to perform, right? So that is when self-deploying is the profile. This is mainly used for the kiosk device type. Those would not be utilized at all on the user base at all, right? So that is when, in case we wanted to utilize this for user basis, then on a user base, then user driven would be the right option, right? So next option here, if you select user driven, next option we have is join to Microsoft Enter ID as. So here we can see two different options, right? The first option is intra joint, second is intra hybrid joint. So intra joint is the one which is specially for intra joint devices, which is a pure cloud environment, and we don't have any hybrid. But in case we have hybrid environment with on-premises AD or on-premises SCCM server to manage the devices and apps and everything, then we would select Entra Hybrid Joint. But now we are going to select Entra Joint, and then next option we have, which is Microsoft Software License Terms. Mainly we don't want to show that, so we'll keep it hide. Then privacy settings should be hide, and hide change account options, that should be hide. Why we wanted to hide these options? Because we don't want let users to do unnecessary things while the device is being enrolled, right? And don't want to spend their much time on it. And the next is account, user account type. There are two types, one is standard and administrator. So we wanted to set this up as a standard, and we don't want user to become as an administrator on the device, right? And that is when we would set it up as standard one. Next is allow pre-provisioned deployments or deployment. Here we would set it to yes, or we can set it to no, right? So what it shows, I'll tell you here: enable processing previous Windows key 5 times to run out of the box experience using without user authentication to enroll device, and provision all system context, apps and settings. User context, apps and settings will be delivered when the user signs in. So this is the option which says in case we wanted user pre-provisioning settings should be deployed automatically first, and then if yes, then we need to make it to yes. If not, then we need to set it to no, right? And next we have option which is language region, which we can see there are many different languages, but it's better to decide which language you wanted to set it up while enrolling the device. So it's better to set operating system default, which picks up the English language, and then that is better to enroll the device. And the next option we have automatically configure keyboard, which is set to yes by default, but we can make it to no. And then user has choice whether what type of keyboard layout they wanted to make or change on the screen. So I'll keep it to yes. Apply device name templates. So this is something in case I wanted to apply on the device settings or the device naming template. Mostly each organization has their own requirement to set the device naming convention or naming while the device is being enrolled. So this way you can set it up. So here you need to enroll the or enter the name. Let's say I wanted to give it a name, let's say VMS. Then let me see the format. I'll paste it VMS dash percent or AND colon 4 then percent. So this way I'm going to give it a name. So this could be anything. It is not mandatory to keep the same one, but yeah, you can give it anything that you wanted to set, right? And this is the profile. So this is not a extensive profile, but I can modify whatever I wanted to change, and in case I wanted to make any other changes, I can simply come back here and make the changes, and yeah, I'm should be good to deploy it. So now I'm going to click next. Here I have options to assign this policy, whether I wanted to assign this to all devices or select a particular group from here. So for now I'm going to select only one group, and yeah, so this is the group I wanted to assign, and then I'm going to assign. In case I don't want this policy to deploy, I can assign that group or add that group here. So this group would be excluded from this policy and it won't be assigned to that group at all.